Hey guys, thanks for joining me. I get a lot of questions about how we actually get clients, whether it's your first client or you've been in business for a while. So I'm going to share a bit about that here with you today. Essentially, getting clients is the cornerstone of building your agency. You don't have a business without having someone who's going to pay you for what you do. So, doing the work, building marketing campaigns for your clients, managing them month to month, having the calls at them, giving them updates, reports, all of that, that's something you can figure out, but the biggest thing to figure out in building your agency is how you get clients in the first place. You can hire out all of the work typically that goes into dealing with client campaigns, from creation to day-to-day management and reporting. There are people out there that can do that for you. There's tools that can help you, but generating leads and getting clients and customers and sales in order, that's the greatest sticking point of all. Fortunately, it's something that I've dealt with over the years, and I've figured out what works and what doesn't work, and how you make something effective in terms of your outreach and your lead generation, and what doesn't work so well. And at the end of the day, the number one thing that matters is cash flow. So it starts with generating leads, but you also have to convert those leads into sales, and you need to make sure those customers stay with you for as long as possible. So beyond closing the deal, there's more work to be done. But the main sticking point, our main priority here, is going to be, you know, the lead generation part. It's about where you put your attention day to day and the business activities that are going to drive you forward. And lead generation is really that main thing. So there are a couple of different things that you need to put your energy towards anyhow. The first thing is your niche. What makes you special and unique. And finding a niche is going to be your top priority in order to do that. This is the quickest, easiest way of growing your business. You absolutely have to intelligently pick a niche that makes sense for you, makes sense to the market, makes sense among all the competitors out there. And selecting a niche is really what's going to positively influence your business as a whole, from lead gen and sales to the actual delivery and fulfillment aspects. Then, if you have the niche, you have your specialization figured out, you still need to generate leads. So that's the second aspect here. The second focal point of your business needs to be lead gen. Now, most of the times I see companies either doing nothing or doing everything that they possibly can for lead gen. And if you can think of the winner between the two of them, it's pretty hard to tell, because the ones doing everything are probably not doing everything very well. They're cold calling, cold emailing, they're on LinkedIn, they're trying to use social media marketing, blogging, YouTube, video marketing, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, if you want to really be effective and grow your business, you need to do just one or two things when it comes to lead generation. I would say two things would be really great. And you can even do a mix of short and long-term strategies, and I think that would be excellent. But you need to find something that works specifically well for you and your niche and your individual personality. Leads are super valuable and important, and from this you actually need to get clients, of course. The next step is the consultation and closing the deal, and to do this right you need a sales process in place. Not only do you have to worry about the client's mindset and understand their situation, but you need to accurately diagnose what is going on in their business and what can you do to help them. That is part of being a trusted advisor, and that's what people are looking for. They want a trusted advisor who can help them make the right decisions and grow their business how they need to, and using marketing to do that. Beyond that, you're also setting the foundation when you're closing deals for how the relationship is going to be. If it's going to be a long-term relationship, and if it's going to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And this is a really pivotal moment for your firm. It can help if you can realize the magnitude of their problems. If they are having excess capacity because their marketing isn't performing well? What is the opportunity there for them? And what is the opportunity cost of them not taking action today? And you can really paint a picture that is meaningful financially and strategically and personally to what they desire. And you can close deals in an effective way that really helps to build your business while you're building someone else's business. And that's a very meaningful thing. Beyond that, when you can paint that picture, you can show them the difference between where they are now, financially, strategically, personally, and where they can be. It becomes very easy to demand higher fees. And with those higher fees, you can also get better talent and resources to build better campaigns and perform better for your clients. Meanwhile, you're also earning a higher profit at the end of the day, so your business becomes healthier as well. So these are the three primary concepts you need to grow your business: finding that niche, getting lead gen dialed in, and closing deals. But what we're really talking about today is the lead gen aspect, the second piece here. That's where we want to focus our attention. It seems to be the greatest sticking point for most people, and something people always seem to ask me about. Part of that being a lot of people don't realize they need a niche, and a lot of people don't get to the point of being able to close deals because they don't have lead gen dialed in. So there are a couple of fundamentals to getting started with lead generation, and we'll start with mapping those up. And this isn't groundbreaking stuff, but if you want to be effective, it isn't about the fancy tricks, it's about what works at the end of the day. But we'll get to some of the more reliable, consistent methods soon, but there's something that you need to start with that most people either neglect or just shy away from or don't think about. And the first thing is your personal network. So your personal network is essentially friends and family. Who can you reach out to and say, hey, this is what I'm doing, these are the kind of people I'm looking for to work with, kind of clients I want. Who do you know that would fit into that criteria? And the clearer picture you can set there, the better. And that's a whole nother lesson related to niching and specializing and building your value proposition, but being able to meaningfully communicate that with starting with your personal network, family and friends, that's going to be very helpful. Beyond that, there is your professional network as well. So this is something that might be built up of various connections that you have, and it might be with another business you're working on, it might be from places you've worked with in the past, it might be just people you've met through school, college, through networking events, through whatever it might be. But your professional network, beyond your family and friends, who do you know that you can reach out to and ask them, who do you know that fits this criteria? And that's a source for you. And the final area to mine initially is your existing or past clients. And here, I don't want you to just think about who am I serving as a consultant, as an agency, because not everyone has that experience anyhow. But also think about people you've worked for in the past, companies you've worked for in the past, reaching out to their CEO, owner, president, the marketing director, whoever the right point of contact is, or just people you have personal connections with at those organizations that can lead you into the right path. Just reach out to them and say, hey, this is what I'm up to now, this is who I'm working with, I'd be interested in speaking with you about your marketing, and take it from there. There's a script to follow, but you get the idea of the biggest thing you have to do is just get the ambition there, get the drive, and start to ask people, let people know what you're up to. Now, I do understand this isn't always the most comfortable thing. Some people find it more comfortable to talk to family and friends. Some people find it less comfortable. For me, I was rather happy going to people I didn't really have any connection with and speaking with them. But this is where you're going to get the quick wins, and this is where you really get to cut your teeth when it comes to giving your pitch. And it's the low-hanging fruit for you at the end of the day. These people already know you. They don't have to build up a relationship. You don't have to worry about building up rapport so much. It's just your network, and you need to deplete your network entirely. And that should be your first step before moving on to the next strategies. But let's say that you do this. All right, you go through this, and it's time to start generating new leads. You don't want to rely on the connections you've built so far. You need new connections. And there's a ton of ways that you can go about doing this, but there's a couple that I recommend. And we'll go over some high-level strategies, whether you want to be a thought leader or do true high-volume outreach. But what I recommend starting out with for most individuals is just direct cold contact. Just reaching out, and as long as you have the right messaging in place, you choose the right channels. Usually it's email, but there's other options for you. This can work very well, particularly on a budget. So that's the first one. Just direct outreach. Okay? And I don't typically think about this in the sense of mass personalized emails in terms of sending out 100 a day. You can send out 5 a day, and you can do very well, but you need the right message in place, and it needs to be truly personalized. So the first form of direct outreach is email, essentially. So this really comes down to the method, the channel, like I said, and the message that you're going to put out there. So the first one, email. And this is the go-to, but there's a problem in that everyone's getting emails these days. And especially from marketing agencies, I get contacted all the time from marketing agencies that just blast their message out there. So you know there's a lot of spam out there. And the companies you're contacting probably get a couple emails every week from agencies and consultants and freelancers. And the biggest issue, though, at the end of the day, is that you're not making enough offers in the market. You're not going out there and saying, hey, this is what I do. Are you interested in help with this? And if you're not going out there and saying, hey, let's work together, and if you're relying on other people coming to you to say, maybe we should work together, you're going to be waiting a very long time. And that's not a way to build a business. It's not reliable, it's not predictable, and it's very dangerous, really. So you need to be out there in the market making the offers. And that's what you're doing here. And you can do this directly by email. You can test out different methods if you want, but email is a safe bet. And there are some templates you can use to get started with this, but you really want to customize that to your personal market and the people that you're reaching out with even. If you do this consistently, you're going to get new clients. No doubt in that. It really just takes consistency and sending out a few a day. I usually say just send out at least 5 a day. If you can do 5 consistently, that's much better than doing 21 day and then missing a day and then doing 15 and then you start to slack off and it's inconsistent. Just 5 a day. And eventually, if you can ramp that up, do 10 a day, do 15 a day, great. But starting with 5 a day and doing that consistently long term is going to be very, very helpful. Beyond this, you're going to want to think about different options for outreach. The second one that I usually go with is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is, the world's largest professional network, and it's something that allows you to not just leverage that large network, but hone in on very specific people. And it also presents you in a way that email doesn't, because you have your photo attached, you have some background, you have some legitimacy because of the existence of your profile on LinkedIn. The other part, and the targeting, is very interesting because LinkedIn allows you to target by job title. So if you want CEOs and presidents and owners of companies, you can do that. If you want to segment that audience by employee size, if they have 11 to 20 employees or 1 to 10 or 20 to 100, whatever your fit is, you can do that. Annual revenues, geography, obviously. You can really hone in on who your ideal target is. And you can get very specific to who you're reaching out to. And that's very powerful. And when it comes to direct targeting, that's something really meaningful. So with LinkedIn, start here, this is kind of what you can expect numbers wise, okay? So you're going to want to reach out to 100 prospects, okay? These are people you found in the search because they fit your criteria. They are exactly the kind of people that you want to work with. They're your ideal client, so to speak. From this, if you reach out to 100, you can expect about 40 people to respond, and these will be your actual connections. So you have a 40% rate there. So from these connections, people that have reached out and connected to you after you reached out to them, you might be able to get 5 to 10 conversations out of that. So these conversations, they're opportunities for you essentially. And typically from those 40 connections, the 5 to 10 conversations, you might get 3 or 4 consultations. 3 would be safe, but let's say 3 to 4. And this is from starting with that 100 prospects that you've reached out to. And that's a pretty good rate. Every 100, if you can get even 1 or 2 consults, I think that would be meaningful, but numbers seem to be that you can get 3 or 4. Now you're going to hit these numbers assuming a couple of things. First, you have the right messaging, and second, you have the right follow-up. And it's really a mix of contacting them both on LinkedIn and on email. And if you're not afraid of picking up the phone, there's that option as well. But really just LinkedIn and email will get you to this point. And if there's other channels that you might look to consider, you go to those other channels as well. But from just working these channels, I've booked consultations with people directly from LinkedIn. I've also gone to Twitter and Facebook and talked to people through there. I've tapped into Instagram before, and it really matters on who you're reaching out to and what options you have there. So what's really amazing is how predictable it is. We have a formula here, and these are numbers and benchmarks that you can hit. We know based on how many prospects we reach out to, how many connections we'll have, how many conversations, how many consultations. And unlike with email, there is that personal touch. There is your profile that exists, and that profile shares your background, it shares your history, and it shares your photo. And there's a personal touch to that. It is a social network. Even if it is a professional network, it is a social network at the end of the day. So this is something that you can do in addition to email outreach, and I think that's important to remember. Email outreach you can spend 2 or 3 hours a week on. Same thing with this, another 2 or 3 hours. So if we're looking at under 10 hours a week, I think that would be pretty reasonable in terms of something to produce consistent cash flow with, consistently getting leads, consistently getting consultations. And this is something that you can automate with tools or an assistant or both, and there's ways to go about that. Another thing you can do with automating LinkedIn is automating profile views. So you build up that list of who your ideal customer is, your ideal client. You fine-tune that criteria. You end up with a couple thousand of your ideal clients on LinkedIn there. And beyond that, beyond going and reaching out to them directly, you can also just view those people that you haven't connected with yet. And there is something to that. If you've ever seen someone before and you don't know exactly where you've seen them, but their face is in your mind for some reason, their name is in your mind, and it just gives you that little bit of intrigue to say, God, I want to know who this is because I think I do know them, and I pretty much just want to prove it to myself that I'm not crazy here. I've seen them before for one reason or another, and whether or not they are very relevant to you or not, you're probably going to put more energy towards figuring out who that is, as opposed to if they just walked by and you've never seen them before, then you're not going to pay attention at all. So profile viewing does that, because when you're on LinkedIn, if you visit someone's profile, it'll alert them, it'll let them know, give them a notification, hey, so-and-so just viewed your profile. So then they're probably going to view yours as well, or at least they see that notification. And that can put you in front of about 600 contacts a day. 600 people seeing you, seeing your profile, seeing your description of who you are and what you do. And if 1% of those people decide to connect with you, there's still 6 additional people there that decided to connect with you. And that's them taking action, taking the initiative to connect with you. So there's something there. That's 600 profile views, okay? And that is something that does not take much time. Really, it can take 5 minutes a day, and you're done. After you set things up, which doesn't take long at all, you just get a certain program, you connect it, and you're ready to go within minutes. You're ready to start your outreach by email, by LinkedIn, and to set up this automated program to do the profile views. Altogether, less than 10 hours a week. Could be 5 hours a week. And the total monthly cost of these tools could be $100 to $200, and that's it. It really matters on what you decide to do exactly, but it doesn't have to be expensive at all. And the return, spending $100 to $200, you'll get that back in no time. You get one client and it pays for months of that work. So you have these tools saving you hours of your time. You have results coming in. These are super affordable tools. They're getting the results for you essentially. It really comes down to having the right niche selected, the right specialization, and crafting the right message for that niche. It's what do you have to say to catch their interest, to appeal to them, what matters to their market, what language do they use, and there's some intricacies to this, but you can really develop something meaningful, and that is going to be one of the most important things you do, getting that niche and getting the right message for them. And at that point, it's a whole lot easier to get them on the phone. So beyond this, we talked about the direct outreach, talked about using LinkedIn and the different things that you can do on LinkedIn, the targeting criteria that can be super helpful. There's another aspect that I think is important, another strategy, and that is what I call thought leadership. And beyond this, I'd refer to it as perpetual thought leadership, but that's a whole nother lesson. The essence of what thought leadership is just being the go-to advisor, okay? Being the person that knows specifically what to do for that space, for that industry, for that niche. And this isn't something I recommend relying on entirely, especially if you're just building up your agency, but I think these are very different strategies from direct outreach to thought leadership, and it helps in a full spectrum. This thought leadership aspect really helps build you up as a professional. It gives you some weight to what you do, and it gives you some extra sophistication. It's much slower. It's a different approach altogether, and it can take many different forms, like I'll cover in a second, but it's something to build up your pipeline, certainly. It's helped me tremendously in my career, and it helps you polish up your skill set, your messaging. It really helps you focus on your target market and what you can do for them. So with that, I think the biggest shift is that with direct outreach, you are going to the market. You're reaching out to them on LinkedIn or by email. But with thought leadership, it's not that way. Actually, they're coming to you. So you're producing some content, and people are consuming that content, and then they're saying, hey, that sounds like someone who can understand my situation, help me out. And so that's how things get moving forward. So what does thought leadership actually look like? It can manifest itself in a couple of different ways. But essentially, people, since the beginning of time, have always read things, written word, they've listened to things, or they've watched things, video. And those are the three main categories that you want to think about. And since you were a child, you were molded to understand that people who wrote things, authors, they have authority. People who spoke, teachers in front of the classroom, they have authority. Same thing with people on video, audio, video, speakers, they have authority. So that's kind of the essence of thought leadership. And so we can break this into a couple different categories. I think there's an opportunity in many markets to be a local expert. There is certainly an opportunity to be an author. And there's an opportunity to be a speaker, which itself can be a couple of different things. You can be the person that everyone knows as a local expert. You could become an author, professional speaker in a more traditional sense. You could also take opportunities like podcasting. I would say that's an offshoot of being a speaker. You can be a podcast guest, certainly, but you can also be a podcast host. And there's something where, as the host, you become the expert just by interviewing other experts. It's less about what you know and say and speak about, and more so about who you choose to join your show and what they talk about. And as the selector of experts, you become a celebrity in and of itself. So, that's an option. You can be a very prolific publisher in a streamlined way, and it's pretty affordable to host a podcast as well. It's another method of building thought leadership. So that's it. But whatever your main preferred method of communication is, wherever you're most comfortable starting out, I think that makes the most sense. And these different aspects alone, they aren't enough. You need some marketing engine behind it, and that's where the perpetual thought leadership term comes into play when I mention that, because that is what takes that attention and turns it into leads, and then leads turn into consultations, and all of that can be pretty much automated as well. But in today's age, attention is the number one thing that you can monetize. It's the number one value. That's what everyone is building their business on at the end of the day, and that's what you can help your clients do as well. So you should be doing that for yourself, building attention. So again, you need one or two methods of lead generation if you want to build your business. And I would say two methods would be best. You have direct outreach, like I mentioned before, and you have the different iterations of such, and you have thought leadership. And a mix of both could make sense. Just don't do thought leadership alone. You need some direct outreach as well. And it comes down to implementing the best practices of each. Whatever kind of direct outreach you do, whatever kind of thought leadership you do, you need best practices in place. You need to do it effectively, because there's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of people doing direct outreach or thought leadership strategies and a bunch of other things, and you need to perform better than them. So, with that, if you're interested in figuring this out, if you're interested in implementing best practices and getting clients at the end of the day, I do have a coaching program I hope that you consider. You can set up a strategy session with me if you'd like. We can jump right into the program if you're ready to get started and start getting new clients. We can discuss how this program could be a fit for you. If you have any doubts or questions in your mind, we can go over that. So right now, go ahead, and I look forward to chatting with you.